Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day to celebrate a beautiful person. David Terkla was my colleague and my friend. When we talk about a leader like David, it's easy to talk about his accomplishments, the things that he could check off as having done, the ways in which he made a transformational impact on CLA as dean, on UMass Boston as a campus, most importantly, in the lives of so many people, faculty, students, staff members. It's not just what David did, but it's how David did it. And I want to harken back to when I first arrived here as a brand new dean, meeting with all the other deans, and immediately, instantly, one person stood out, David Terkla. David was always thoughtful, purposeful, intentional, but compassionate about not only just what we were trying to do, passionate about our mission, but passionate about that a university isn't an organizational structure. A university isn't an org chart. It's not academic programs. A university is people. David always got that. And so as I had the genuine pleasure to spend time with David, and I like spending time with him whether I actually had to or not, it's because I could learn so much from him, just as so many others have and did. Some of it was to learn about UMass Boston and the deep knowledge and passion that he had for this campus that I tried to absorb as much as possible. Some of it was about what it took to be a successful dean. Somebody who was driven by principles, who was consultative, who was strategic, who believed in building better systems. Always put people first, but was always driven by principles. So I learned a lot with and from David. But it wasn't just work, and I think this is one of the things that sets David apart from so many driven, successful leaders in academia or elsewhere. David was a remarkable whole person. We could talk as easily about spending the weekend outdoors, hiking, fishing. His passion for his kids, all you had to do was look at his tie to get to know his grandkids, and all you had to do was ask one question and you would hear so much about his kids, his grandkids, Dawn. His family was literally always with him, and it's something I really appreciate. Family matters, and David was truly passionate about his family. But you know what? He had a family here too. And he loved that family. And his family loved him. I love David Terkla. He was really quite a remarkable person. So I am grateful that I had my opportunity to spend time with David, to learn from David, to work with David, to lead with David. And we all, myself included, have a great responsibility to live up to David. And David lives on in UMass Boston, in our work, mostly in the way in which we treat each other. So for that, I'm forever grateful. Again, it's a beautiful day to celebrate a beautiful person, and I'm so pleased that we all get to be here together with David's spirit, with David's legacy, with David's family, so that we can, in just a small moment in time, in a small way, honor someone whose impact is timeless, David Terkla. Thank you very much. Chancellor?
Good afternoon. My name is Marcelo Suarez Orozco, and I have the deep honor to serve as the Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Heather, Dawn, good afternoon. I'm so pleased we gather here today, coming together in person and virtually to celebrate such a full life, such a beautiful life. I did not have the pleasure to get to work with David. I was very unfortunate. By the time I arrived back in the Commonwealth, Columbia Point, the wicked, wicked disease had invaded that beautiful life. I had 2 or 3 exchanges with David. Exchanges that allowed me to feel the depth of a committed, wise, brilliant scholar and administrator. I can relate to so many aspects of his journey. As a scholar who, before it was celebrated, understood, and embodied an interdisciplinary approach to fundamental problems, both in his fields of economics and environmental science. As a scholar who stepped up into the arena and became an administrator when the work of administration, such a profound call, isn't always the easiest. His scholarship spanned problems, basic problems, in economic development theory and natural resource economics. He is widely published, and his findings appear in 4 important books and multiple scholarly publications and other writings. As a scholar, as the provost noted, David understood that the business of the university is our students. It's serving them, it's mentoring them, it's guiding them in their scholarly and humanistic pursuits. And in that, he was beloved. He was a beloved teacher. He was a beloved mentor. As the provost noted, he touched so many members of our UMass Boston community in his distinct roles as a faculty member, as an administrator, as a teacher, as a mentor, as an advisor. As a dean, he advocated and succeeded in recruiting high caliber, high faculty members, and was very focused on their development and their retention. What an extraordinary life. But of course, family came first. I just had a very moving conversation, I hope the first of many, with Dawn and Heather, and Heather's spouse. And what they share with me, how can a life so full of vigor, so full of wisdom, so full of generosity, so full of brilliance be summarized? It was in the beautiful tribute, in the voice of Dawn and in the voice of his daughter, Heather, that so many of the fundamental traits that went into the making of this extraordinary life resonate inside my neural pathways and my heart. David loved to fish in his lake house in New Hampshire. I wish he could teach me how to fish. I want to learn how to fish now that I'm back in the Commonwealth. In LA, there are no rivers. You really can't fish. I really wish, and he would have, and I would have enjoyed that. David and Dawn were ballroom dancers. And Thursday night was the night to perfect their moves and to grow in their relationship. Above all, it was a family, it was his children, and it was his grandchildren. I am told of a sartorial move. You can put your grandchildren's faces on your ties. That's amazing. I'm going to go online and try to figure out how to do that. What an act of love. David blessed us. And we are so grateful to have been a part of that beautiful, full, purposeful, engaged life. We remember you, David. We honor you. Thank you. Randy, please.
Hi, My name's Randy Albelda, and I am recently retired from UMass Boston. Thank you for the honor of being part of UMass Boston's celebration of David Terkla's life. A special ode to Dawn, Heather and Ben, who are here, Michael and Kelly, maybe they're watching virtually, David's parents, his sister, and those 5 grandkids. And congratulations to Alexandra Figueroa, who is the first person to win the memorial, or to win the David Terkla Scholarship. There's so many of you here because you love David. People are busy here. They don't come to things like this. So it's a real testimony to David's life and his role at UMass Boston that you're all here. And it actually feels a little bit daunting to be the one that gets to speak about David and remember his family life here at UMass Boston. Because I know each and every one of you has your own story about David, and sometimes I heard them. He was really, really, really proud of faculty and staff at UMass Boston. I'll say a little bit more about that later. May his memory be a blessing for all of us. I knew David for almost all his UMass Boston career. I arrived in the economics department in 1988. David started in 1987. There are a few people here, I think, are online, are here, that knew David before me. Yvonne, I don't know if you're here, Arthur, Jim, Mary, Joanne, John, and Catherine were all there. But David came to the economics department. As has been mentioned before, his scholarly interests were perfect for UMass Boston and foreshadowed many of the pressing economic policy issues we face today. They should have listened to him then. His work focused on state transportation policy, renewable energy policy, older worker employment and training policies, planning in the waterfront community, especially fisheries, and local and economic development. He was an accomplished and well-respected scholar. From the very beginning, David was always reaching across the department and college aisles. That is, we couldn't claim all of David in the economics department. He worked with many colleagues and programs across the campus, which I think actually made him an effective and collaborative dean of CLA. He had a joint appointment, what was then called EOS, Environmental, Earth and Ocean Sciences, now Environmental Sciences. He taught classes, chaired and served on department committees, and chaired master's and doctoral committees. He was also a part of the core faculty of the public policy PhD program in the 1990s and early 2000s. David was an excellent teacher and a wonderful mentor to graduate students. David also did more than his fair share of service. He was chair of the economics department for 6.5 years and chaired many important college and university level committees, including the CLA College Personnel Committee, the Salary Anomalies Committee, and you can imagine how that went when people were talking about their salaries. University Finance Committee, just to name a few. In 2010, David moved to the CLA Dean's office, first as Associate Dean and then as Dean. And everywhere David took on leadership roles, he was much beloved for his openness, competence, and commitment. And given that UMB seems to only run on one financial mode, that being austerity, this work certainly was not easy, but remarkably, David always remained upbeat. David knew UMass Boston well. He knew what worked well, and he knew what didn't. He always saw our promise. In every role that David undertook, he was confident, but never cocky, respectful, and honest. His door was always open. Being a chair and a dean often means telling people things they really do not want to hear. But David knew just how to handle that. You could walk into his office, be ready and state your claim, walk out without budging him a bit, but didn't feel badly. because you knew you were heard, you got a reasonable explanation, and you felt like you were part of the same project. And that's because David understood if we were going to go anywhere, we were going to have to get there together. This not only meant that everyone had to know their contributions were appreciated, but it also meant they were going to be protected to the degree that David could. This especially extended to staff. As our department administrator, Maureen Boyle, would say, David has our back. He had a lot of our backs. I always appreciated how incredibly supportive and encouraging he was of women faculty. The more feminist they were, the more supportive he seemed to be. His superpower was appreciating and promoting student, staff, and faculty success. David did not wear his heart on his sleeve, he wore it around his neck, as you've heard. He loved wearing those neckties with pictures of his grandkids, and somehow he could carry it off. And then there was his CLA convocation and graduation day hood and gown, his Berkeley Blues that is in your program, which he loved that gown and robe and hood, in which he got to bask in the accomplishments and marvel at the amazing journeys of our students as they received department awards and their diplomas. In closing, I decided I would share with you what I wrote to David right before he died almost 1 year ago. He died on October 21st. So this is what the only good thing about cancer, I think, is that you do get a chance to tell people how much you love them. And I feel grateful that I was able to write to David. You are thoughtful, kind, smart, and just an all-around really good person. And everyone I know that knows you thinks that too. I don't know how you manage it, but you are almost perfect. You are the best colleague and friend, the perfect dean, an incredible husband, father, and grandfather, perfect boss, and probably a really good ballroom dancer, although I've never seen that. It doesn't hurt that we agree on almost everything. Okay, your optimism could be annoying at times, but it seems to always work for you, so I've even grown to like that too. We have been work family for over 30 years, and I have appreciated having you as a colleague, friend, and comrade every one of those years. It has made this journey enjoyable and more worthwhile. I'm sure you know this, but I will say it anyways. Your devotion and leadership have made our department, CLA, and the university a much better place for staff, faculty, and students. I'm sure you have even made some bad administrators look good along the way. I especially appreciate the way in which your leadership brought out the best in people and made all of us better at what we do. It has been a real gift to us. I could go on more, but I think you've got the point. Thank you for being so, David.
Good afternoon. My name is Tyson King Meadows. I'm the Dean of Liberal Arts, and I have the honor and the pleasure to award the first recipient of the inaugural David Terkla Memorial Scholarship to a most deserving student who embodies all the principles of leadership, compassion, dedication that we've heard today. And her name is Alexandra Figueroa. Unfortunately, she's not here today because she's sick and she's decided to stay home and watch it online. But as you will see in the program, she's a senior in marine sciences in the School of the Environment. She's dedicated to studying marine pollution. She's dedicated to making a difference. And in her letter, she talks about how this support will help her go on to graduate and get a PhD and then contribute to our community. I'd like to thank the committee of Bob Chin, Jane Adams, and Adua Lehman, who helped select this recipient. Again, she is not here today, but she is really watching online and indicating that she is very, very helpful and very grateful for this award. So let's give her an award. Thank you.
Does anyone have any objection if I remove my mask while I give these remarks? If you do, raise your hand and I will not do it. Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm afraid if I don't get some air, I'm going to pass out, and that will provide even more entertainment than you really want today. And Randy, I have to tell you, I bought David his Berkeley Blues, and he didn't want them because he was wearing, and I said, you can't. He would wear the ugly black thing that he would rent, and half the time they had the wrong hood. It drove me crazy, so I bought it for him. And then he liked it, so it was a good present. And we are actually trying to find a faculty member who graduated from UC Berkeley to whom I can give that cap and gown. So if you know of anyone, please let me know. So on behalf of our family, I would like to thank the Chancellor, the Provost, wherever you're hiding, and the advancement staff for hosting the celebration to recognize David's life and his contributions to the university. I'd also like to thank all of you today, both who are here virtually and in person. A big thank you to all who have contributed to the scholarship that was created in David's memory. And lastly, a hearty congratulations to Alexandra, the first recipient of this scholarship. What an accomplished young woman. And wherever you are, I'm giving you a major hug. David loved this community and dedicated over 30 years of his life to make it the best it could be. He loved the faculty, the staff, and the students. You ask, how do I know this? David spoke of the dedication of the staff and that all you did to keep the trains running. Not an easy job. And I so appreciate those of you who took care of him. You know who you are. He delighted in regaling me with details about the new faculty he hired and their wide range of research interests. You can't even imagine the conversations we had about that research at our dinner tables. I learned so much. In some fields I really didn't want to learn about either, but he was thrilled when a junior faculty member received tenure. My God, you would have thought it was our Heather getting tenure. And he was so proud of the senior members of the faculty when they received awards, published a groundbreaking piece, received a major research grant, or agreed to serve on a major committee. Sometimes convincing you guys to do that was no small task, and I heard about it all. I think he read every book that the CLA faculty published during his time at Dean. What an extraordinary feat, right? There were stacks of these books in our house, and I think he read them all. And the students, he could not stop talking about the students and his interactions with them. I heard about students in his classes his doctoral students, students he had lunch with, emails he received, advisings who went on to do amazing things, and those he met while striding the halls. And you know how he strided along, right? Strode along? Whatever, those big long legs. He swooped along, right, which was his nickname from college. And I need to acknowledge his his college classmates who have came to that, and I really appreciate that, so thank you so much. He loved to attend your performances, and yes, he really did care about what students said on those course evaluations. Trust me, he cared. David was extraordinary. We were blessed to have him in our lives. The family joke was that David was Mr. Perfect. Danny Tanner from Full House, Heather, is that what it is, right? Heather's high school classmates started to call him Danny Tanner. Well, he hated it when we called him that. He wasn't perfect, but he definitely tried to be the best person he could be every day of his life. He was, in my very, very biased opinion, a great father, papa, son, and brother, a good friend to many, a tremendous administrator and faculty member, and the best husband anyone could have ever wished for. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. I know that time is a very, very precious commodity. Thank you.
How can I say thanks for the many things you've done? You've given so unselfishly. I know that I am loved. Every day I'm grateful for what you mean to me. Your actions evident your heart. It's to you this song we sing. I am so thankful for all you've done for me. Like the few, the proud, the brave, the bold. I am so thankful that you live unselfishly. So unselfishly. Hope and family. In times of trial, you're faithful. You're the last to let me down. Your courage and your confidence, your deeds are so profound. How fortunate we are just to have you around. You reap rewards for what you've done. The blessings will abound. I'm so thankful for all you've done for me. Like the fever of the grateful, you're what I want to be. I'm so thankful that you live unselfishly. When duty calls, you stand up tall with faith, hope, and family. Your discipline so evident, your drive, your will, your pride, your strength, your self-worth, your desire to put others first. You know that you did with double work. Your righteous acts we can never repay, and we are proud to say proud to say, I'm so thankful for all you've done for me. You're what we want to be. I'm so thankful. Oh, when duty calls, you stand up